All right, welcome back to the final session of the day with Gonzaga. We have Coach Fortier with us. We'll remind you to raise your hand to signal that you have a question. We'll send a mic holder your way. And let's go ahead and direct questions to Coach Fortier.
Nothing.
Michelle's coming.
Coach, this is Jade Evans with the Seattle Times. How do you kind of maybe even look, are there a lot of comparisons that you can make with your program and Tennessee's program?
I think both of our programs have really good depth. It's easy to see that in the way that they lost two really important players and they're still as good as they are. I mean, they're terrific, even down two men. Plus they have a couple, or I guess women, and they have a couple people redshirting as well. So I think that's an area that we're similar. I think both of us are defensive oriented, like to change defenses, run a bunch of different defensive styles, try to limit opponents' offensive touches and try and keep them out of their flow. So that's something that we both do. I think another similarity that we have is just that we have offensive and defensive weapons at all positions. They're tremendous 1 through 5, and they all do different things and bring different things to their team. And I think that that's the same thing with us. We have some length in some places. We have some skill here. We have a banger mentality down here. So we kind of are diverse in the 5 that we put on the floor at all times.
Michelle Smith, ESPNW. Lisa, what was your expectation when you took over the program in terms of what this first year was going to be like, in terms of success, momentum, maybe just being able to maintain where you guys had been? What did you think was going to happen?
Well, I was very confident. I don't think I would have been eager to take over a program and fill such big shoes if I didn't think that our team was going to be able to continue to compete. And so I was very confident in what we could do long term. I thought we had good players here. I recruited most of them to some extent, and I've coached them. I didn't know if how good we were going to be, and as a first-time head coach, I think I tried to set myself up for success by keeping our goals to, things that weren't necessarily as measurable. Maybe, working hard every day and competing and this and that, and putting in our time off the court and that kind of thing. But as a competitor, I wanted to win championships. That was one of the goals that I had in my mind before our team put that on paper, that I wanted to win the West Coast Conference. And they had postseason goals as well that I'm going to keep private to our team. But I was every bit as optimistic as they were that we would be able to achieve those goals if we worked well together. And I knew that it was going to take a little bit of time. We had a bumpy start, not necessarily with win-loss record, but just with the way we were playing. And I think we're starting to finally hit our stride.
Coach Tom Klaus, Spokane Review. The energy you had those first 2 games, how do you put that genie back in the bottle for this? You said each step is harder in the tournament. So how do you avoid the distractions and get them to play like they did in the first 2 games?
Well, I'm sorry, I keep coughing. I think that the distractions are positive. It's an exciting atmosphere. I don't think there's anything that's... The biggest distraction is that they still have to go to school and they still have their friends and family around. It's not like we're on the road. So it is a different feeling towards playing here in Spokane. But the reality is we get into the locker room, we start watching film, and that's time to focus, just like it is any other game. Believe it or not, I know I tell you all the time, Tom, but we don't approach any game any differently than any other. The girls might, or the players might have a different mentality possibly, but we watch the same film the same amount of time in advance. We give them the scouting report the same amount of time in advance, and we practice hard every day for every opponent. And so I don't think that it's any different. They probably have a little bit of extra energy and adrenaline just because we are in the Sweet 16 and we are playing a team that they know a lot about, just from being general basketball fans. But it's down to, if you're a competitor, then you get excited. And that's the kind of thing that I don't have to worry about putting in a bottle. Because when we come out tomorrow, they're going to be excited and ready to go.
You said it's sort of funny the way things work out. This regional wasn't really even supposed to be here originally Sacramento had it, and then Spokane kind of came in when Sacramento dropped out. Is it funny to you? Is it sort of a little bit of fate that, it ends up sort of working out like this, that you guys have this run in a season of transition and you end up here in a spot that maybe a year ago we weren't even going to be here?
Yeah, I think it's a happy accident for us, and we'll take it anytime we have an opportunity to play in Spokane. Spokane's such a great atmosphere for any sporting event, but especially basketball. Spokane really rallies around Zags and men's and women's teams, and it's a twist of fate, but it's one that we're happy to be on the, good end of.
Lisa, Howie Stolk, Sports Press Northwest. A lot of people have been asking about the West Virginia kid. Obviously, makes a silly remark regarding Kentucky. How do you handle social media in terms of talking to your players? Do you talk about it much during the season? Have you talked about it during the tournament?
We've mentioned it again, and during the season we remind them often that they're representing themselves, their family, our team, blah, 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 blah. We're representing a lot of people, and so you want to make sure that you're always humble, which I think we are by nature, but that you're humble and that you make sure that you're being smart and not giving anybody else any fodder for the bulletin board, and hopefully we manage to do that. They are only 18 to 22, and they make mistakes, and social media is a whole different animal nowadays, so it's probably more common than it used to be.
Coach, with Emma, obviously she had a really key game against Oregon State. Do you see her being a factor again against Tennessee's big lineup?
Yep, she's one of the first people we've brought in off the bench. If you look at our games, at the game film and the box scores every game, she's tremendous because she has the ability to front, play behind, shoot from the outside, score on the inside. She's a very well-rounded player. I'm so happy that she's just a freshman, but I think that she's capable of defending athletic people. She's capable of banging with the more physical players, and she can score at a high level on most people. She's very diverse that way. So we're hopeful that she's going to be effective against Tennessee.
Lisa, Mike Boyle, Cram 2. Is there more of a distraction playing here in Spokane as compared to what you had in Corvallis?
Yeah, in some ways, just because, like I said, you have other people around. I know sometimes when you play in a home town, people take their team to the hotel and put them on lockdown, and that's not what we've chosen to do. They're still sleeping at their houses, and the NCAA rules said that they had to go to school today if they had class, and the rest of the teams have come out here and they've got to think about nothing but basketball for a few days, and they're away from all of those general things that they have to worry about on a day-to-day basis, and so it's a little bit different. Luckily, we have a lot of media and a lot of things that kind of allow us to spend the next hour getting focused before we practice, and then again tomorrow. But it is a little bit more distracting just in general. I think that the negatives are probably not as important as the positives, that we are familiar, and we'll hopefully have a ton of people out here cheering for us tomorrow.
Coach, in the two NCAA games, it appeared that the refs allowed a lot of physical play. Did you see any difference between what they allowed in those games and what you saw in the regular season?
I think in some of the games we were allowed to play physical throughout the regular season, but definitely there was a lot more physical play, and they let us play through things, and so that's why we're making the point that you have to finish through contact at this level and this time of year, because these teams are playing, some of these teams that we've played are playing in much more physical conferences, and they're used to this kind of play day in, day out. And in the West Coast Conference, you might run into a physical team here and then not so physical the next game, or depending on, there was one game we played this year, I don't remember who it was against, but we were in bonus, I think, 3 minutes into the game, just because of the game plan of the other team and the refs that we happened to come across that day. But I think that the physical nature of the game is something that we can certainly play in, that type of game, so it's fine.
More questions? All right, thank you, Coach. We'll have Gonzaga student athletes up shortly.